Welcome into Sports Films Betting Podcast, NFL Every Game on the Board with our guest, like every Monday, Teddy Covers. Teddy, welcome to the pod. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Drew. How about yourself?
Doing all right, man. Interested in your opinion here on all the NFL games, and did want to throw out the fact, the Vegas Strong thing real quick, Teddy. I went to the Jason Aldean concert last night, and it was the first time he was in town since the shooting. Really special concert. You could see people crying in the stands. It was a great concert. Jason Aldean is great in concert. Performer of the year a couple years ago, and just wanted to throw it out there, man. I know you were in town 2 years ago when it happened, and it was a special moment, man.
Yeah, I mean, that night was one of the worst nights of my life. Certainly my worst night in Las Vegas that I could think of, just because you didn't know what was going on. And I was following Twitter, I was following the news, and it was just, it was a pretty horrible thing that happened here. Luckily, the city, has been able to rebound and respond, and it was great to see, as you mentioned, Jason Aldean back here last night, but that was a rough night. And obviously, and that's from someone that didn't have someone involved there. Obviously, you had someone at the concert. It was more than a rough night. It was a disastrous night. So I'm glad you went, and I'm glad he came back. And the important thing is that when you get punched, you got to punch back, and Vegas has done that effectively. I really think we have as a city. So for whatever that's worth.
Absolutely, man. And I'm getting behind the Vegas Strong thing. The Golden Knights, the Raiders coming. I'll tell you, I've only been here 4 months, but it is a really cool place to live. Obviously, a lot to go on. So, guys, just wanted to throw that out there before we did break down the games. Feel free to reach out to Teddy on Twitter at Teddy_covers or myself at Drew Martin Bets. Any Vegas questions, any handicapping questions, life advice, we'll take it all. But let's start off with the Thursday nighter here, Teddy. We got the New York Jets and the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens, arguably the best team in the NFL, laying 15.5. Pretty much across the board here. There is some 14.5s out there in Las Vegas, seeing 45 as the total. Interested in the Thursday nighter, Teddy?
Let's talk about where that. Okay, so as we do with the opening line report every week, I like to give the look-ahead line. This is a bettable line from last week. I use the Westgate Superbook numbers. You can get numbers from a handful of sports books that post lines a week ahead of the game. I use the Westgate numbers from here in Vegas. I also give you my powering number for the game, and then we'll talk about where we think the number is going to go. Look ahead line here was Baltimore 14. My powering number is Baltimore 14, and the markets are a little bit higher than that. And we know that we're not going to see Jets money. The Jets off a non-cut. And I'll give the Jets some credit yesterday. And again, it was, the controversial touchdown that they got that, was it or wasn't it? Oh, well, it ends up being a touchdown on Booth Review. And then the controversial replay in the final minute of that game that the Jets got the pass interference call that wasn't called on the field, which you don't often see. Which led directly to the game-winning field goal. Sam Darnold wasn't right. He got hurt in that game. He missed a couple of open receivers for touchdowns that could have perhaps given the Jets a cover even in that ballgame. So we'll have to see what his hand injury looks like. It doesn't look good, and I haven't downgraded Darnold and the Jets because of that, but that's something that I definitely want to read on a little bit more today because he wasn't right in the fourth quarter of that ballgame, and it showed. Last week, I came on the pod and talked about how the Ravens ranked as the best team in the NFL, and I still only had the number 2.5 at Buffalo. Now, after Baltimore, another impressive showing yesterday from Baltimore. I mean, really, there's nothing to dislike about this team. I still have them as the best team in the NFL. I have them a 1.5 better than anybody else, and my number's only 14 on the game. So it speaks where the markets are real high on Baltimore right now, and you can count on for the Thursday night single event TV game. It will be only Ravens money. So if you like Baltimore, maybe the wise guys get to the Jets. I don't think they do it at 14 or 14.5. This number is much more likely to go up than it is to go down.
And Teddy, just quick handicapping question for you. Do you think that the odds makers are putting this over your power rating just strictly because their power rating is higher on the Ravens? Or do you think they're actually adding a tax here? They're coming out with their power rating. No, it's a singled out NFL game Thursday night with the best team, arguably the best team, and then adding points to that. Do you know how that works?
Sure. I mean, the books have to cater to their audience. All right. I would be surprised if there are any books that don't have Baltimore power rated as the number one team in the NFL right now. But there can be significant differential between where you have the Jets. I mean, there are two pieces to this equation, and Baltimore is only one of them. The markets appear to have the Jets a notch or two lower than I do, and that would be, I think, where the extra point or two in this game is coming from. It's not necessarily they've got Baltimore higher; they might have the Jets lower. And I didn't, again, with Darnold's injury, I didn't downgrade the Jets initially off of that. I wanted to see a practice report, but my Jets number may be a point or two high, and certainly if Darnold's not right, it is a point or two high, and maybe more than that.
Teddy, moving on to the Sunday card, top of the card here, 305, 306, Tampa Bay at Detroit. We're seeing the Bucs laying 3 in the hook right now on the road, 47.5 the total here, Teddy.
Yeah, look ahead line here was Tampa -4. My powering number is Tampa -3, but I downgraded Tampa with the Mike Evans injury. I mean, there aren't many receivers in the NFL. There really aren't, who get less hype and produce more than Jameis Winston's go-to guy. Evans is a go-to target, and I believe it's a season ender for Mike Evans. They're saying, they don't know if it's a season ender, but it's a hammy. He's going to be out for a little while. I downgraded Tampa off that performance, off that injury, I should say, even though yesterday's win might have been the most impressive of the bunch. They lose the turnover battle. Winston throws an 80-yard pick six to Darius Leonard, and Tampa's not going to the playoffs. That's a game, and they hadn't covered a spread, and they still haven't covered a spread at home. It's home chalk all year. But the fact that they had significant adversity in that game, and again, battled through that adversity and found a way to win. This is a buy sign on Tampa all the way. I'm just concerned about the injury. There are no buy signs for Detroit right now. We can anticipate there being Bucs money in this one, even though my number's a little bit lower, adjusting for the Evans injury. Lions, there's no betting bandwagon for Detroit right now, and the wise guys are on Tampa every week. So if this line's going anywhere, it's going up, not down, despite the Mike Evans injury.
Next game up, Teddy, 307, 308, Philadelphia at Washington. Seeing Philadelphia laying 6 on the highway, 40.5 being the total. Little bit of a limited marketplace here, though, Teddy.
Look ahead line here was Philly -6. My powering number is Philly -3. All the the Redskins again yesterday, and I'm kicking myself. I was debating side total. I ended up on total, and I should have played side. Obviously, the last two games, Washington's down 14-0, and the rest of the game they're the better team. They were better than Green Bay for extended stretches yesterday. And the Geis injury matters for the Redskins, but I downgraded Philly significantly off the Dolphins loss. The third straight loss, the must-win game, a 2-touchdown lead in the second half. A defense that couldn't get stops when it mattered most, a season that has gone off the rails. I'm not convinced that Philly bounces back tonight against the Giants, and even if they do, I'm not convinced that means anything moving forward against their divisional foe. So my number's well short of the market number here. I've got Washington a notch too higher, and I'm not. The must-win teams like Philadelphia are must-win for a reason because they're no good. The Eagles are a 5-7 team, and they continue to be priced like a playoff team, and I'm not surprised the markets are higher than I am on this one.
Teddy, we got 309, 310 up next. Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers, 41 being the total. Packers laying 4 or 4.5 in Lambeau.
Yeah, interesting number when you consider the look-ahead line here was Green Bay -7. Wow. My powering number is Green Bay -5, and again, we're in week. We're talking about week 15 games.
Yeah, I don't see that.
You're not supposed to see a move off of 1 week's game. You're not supposed to see that type of adjustment. All that said, like I said, my powering number came 2 points lower than the look ahead, but still higher than the current number. I'm not high on Green Bay. You look at the division leaders. Are the Packers still leading the division? I think they are. I'm not sold on the Packers. They're vulnerable against the run. The offense is hit or miss at best. There's still a dearth of skill position talent. I think Green Bay in many senses is a little bit overvalued. Remember the first meeting between the two teams? It was the first game of the season on Thursday Night Football. The Bears scored 3 points in that ball game. Now they're off back-to-back good offensive games. Not going to be easy at Lambeau, but there might be a buy sign here on Chicago. And as you mentioned, the look ahead 7, the number opens 4.5. There are 4s out there. It's only moving one way here. It's moving towards the Bears. I don't know if it goes any further. This isn't an emergency situation. I saved my emergency betting alerts for later in the show. But at least initially, I'm not shocked that the money's come on Chicago for this one. And we may well see a little bit more. Green Bay, I would think 4.5 feels right for this one.
Yeah, and Teddy, you're right. I mean, the NFC North is getting a little interesting here. Green Bay sitting on top, yes, at 10-3, but Minnesota right on their heels at 9-4, and then the Bears not out of it, 7-6. So kind of surprising there, looking at the standings in the NFC North. But we got New England at Cincinnati up next. We're seeing Patriots anywhere from -8 in the hook to -9 in the hook. Both of those numbers looks like more 8.5 offshore, 9.5 here in Vegas, but seeing 40.5 being the total. We got the Pats at the Bengals, Teddy.
Look ahead line was 10.5. My powering number is 9.5. Since he, back-to-back weeks with Dalton has played competitive football. They weren't pretty. Boy, they were ugly against Cleveland in a lot of different ways. And Dalton threw his, Dalton's back to lineup. Let's see when the pick six comes. Oh, it's going to come early this week, which it did. Which ended up being the margin for Browns backers in that ball game. But since he didn't play like a winless team playing out the string, they play like a competitive team that just wasn't good, which is what they are. Again, 10.5 look ahead, 9.5 my number. This number can't go down much further. New England off back-to-back losses, facing a bottom feeder. This is their spot, and everyone knows it, and everyone's heard it, and everyone's seen it, but the Brady's has injury concerns off of last night's game. Once he gets announced as healthy, if he gets announced as healthy, I would expect this number to go up. If you like New England, 8.5, I don't think it gets any cheaper than that. Man, I'm not convinced that'll be there tomorrow at this time.
Teddy, next game up, 3-13, 3-14, Houston at Tennessee. We're seeing the Titans -3 at home, 40.5, the total.
So look ahead line here was Tennessee -2.5. My powering number is Tennessee -4. And I saw this question on Twitter yesterday, Drew, and I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
All right. Just I was thinking about it. I never anyone to ask it. And I'm like, I don't know. That's a good question. So you're a Texans fan. You're a Texans supporter. Would you rather lose to New England like you do every time and then come bounce back and beat up on Denver? Or would you rather finally beat the Patriots and then be completely flat the next week and get blown off the field by Denver? Which one's better? Which is the better scenario for you?
I would guess as a fan beating the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got their win. And O'Brien didn't have them ready last week. And that's what we expect. I mean, that's Houston.
Okay.
They're a dog. They're a good dog. They've been a dicey favorite. They've certainly been a very dicey big favorite. We'll talk about the Broncos in a few minutes. Denver was impressive yesterday. Let's put it that way. They were really impressive. So for as bad as Houston was, at least it wasn't like just they just stunk and the other team stunk too, but the Houston stunk worse. Denver played good football. And Houston got into a hole and stayed in the hole. And the one of a number of games from yesterday where you want to take your box score and throw it out.
Okay.
Your box score is not going to give you a lot from that game because it was 31-3, and everything else is garbage time. And the final was 38-3, wasn't it?
It was a lot to a little. Good quarterback play too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, the lock was brilliant. One would expect the Texans to bounce back. They're not as bad a team as we saw last week. They certainly this is their preferred role, road dogs. It's a Houston spot. But we got to start talking about Tennessee as a legit contender. All right. And not like, okay, they might make the playoffs. I mean, like, is Tennessee the best team in the AFC kind of contender? And the markets aren't there. I've got Baltimore right now 5.5 points better than Tennessee. I've got New England a field goal better than Tennessee. But honestly, if you're looking at the last 2 months since Tannehill took over, you make case Titans are the best team in the AFC. And you go through their games and how they're winning. All three units, defense is making plays. Special teams is making plays every week. Offense is clicking. They can run. They can throw. They're buying into everything Vrabel's selling. There's a lot to like about Tennessee, and this number's fairly cheap. But the markets are saying, look at the bounce back here for Houston. I don't think this line moves off of 3 all week.
Teddy, we got Seattle at Carolina up next. Looks like the Seahawks laying 6 on the highway, 48.5 being the total. Ron Rivera out now, Teddy.
I wanted to doodly oop this game, and I still feel like Seattle can't go at less than a touchdown here. There has to be Seattle money in this game, and yet the first bets are coming for Carolina. So I'm not doodle-yooping it. I'll save it. Look ahead line here was 4.5. My powering number is 8. You read the Seahawks quotes after yesterday's game. And they were, again, I had the Rams last night. The Rams were easy in terms of a spot. That was as bad a spot for Seattle as they're going to get. Short week off of back-to-back huge wins and playing a team in revenge for, excuse me, and fighting for their playoff lives. And Seattle didn't play well. I wouldn't anticipate that happening 2 weeks in a row. And at less than a touchdown. I mean, the Panthers, there was a lot of playing out the string in that loss to Atlanta yesterday. Really, I mean, most of it was turnovers. They were -4 in turnovers in that ball game or something stupid. But that's what Carolina is going to be because their defense is not going to force a whole lot of turnovers, and their offense is not capable of avoiding the turnovers. So I thought this line was going to jump. 5.5 right now on Seattle you can find. And again, my powering number on the game is 8, and it's a bet on spot for the Seahawks. So you know which way I'm leaning in this one.
Guys, this is the NFL opening line report with Teddy Covers each and every Monday at sportsmemo.com. We do have a special coupon code for this podcast, TC199 at checkout. We'll give you the rest of Teddy Covers NFL and college football season all the way throughout the national championship game, every bowl game he releases, the Super Bowl prop package, which has been a huge success of late. He's hitting 56% in the NFL since 2015. That's the last 5 years, hitting 56% in the NFL. Really knows his NFL. And also in bowl season in college football, 31-21 going back here over the last 52 plays, 60% in bowl games. Bring it up out in kind of just throwing out the bowl games there, guys, because it does become a different type of handicap. He's got a free play up at sportsmemo.com. Check that out. It's in the UAB App State game, 60% in bowls going back quite some time and 56% in the NFL over the last 5 years. Huge success there from Teddy Covers, and you can get the rest of his NFL and college football season, every play he releases, including the 5%, for only $199, less than $200 here, using the coupon code TC199 at checkout. Teddy, next game up, we got Denver versus Kansas City, 45.5. being the total, seeing 10. That's Kansas City laying at home. Of course, a limited marketplace here, Teddy.
Yeah, limited marketplace. Mahomes is questionable. He hurt his hand in yesterday's game, and one would expect that he's going to play. If he doesn't play, obviously it's an enormous drop-off for Kansas City. But much like with the Texans, after they beat the Patriots, there was an immediate drop-off the next week. It's not like KC's been blowing teams out every week at home this year. Their vulnerability has been at Arrowhead, and they finally got over the hump against New England. You worry about a little bit of letdown, even here against a divisional foe like the Broncos. And the Broncos were great yesterday. I mean, both sides of the ball. Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Some of the throws he was he was under. The thing that I'm always looking for with the rookie quarterbacks, with the first time starters, how are they dealing with the pressure? And Locke yesterday dealt with the pressure. He got rid of the ball quickly. He made quick decisions. He put the balls in places where either his receiver was going to make a play in it or nobody was. I mean, it was impressive what Denver did on both sides of the ball. And when you find the losing teams late in the season that are giving it, that are playing with effort and giving a hoot, I could say shit. I'm working on trying not to swear on air. But the teams that don't give a hoot can be bet against. But the teams that do, and Denver showed something last week. That may well be a buy sign for the Broncos. I would not be shocked at all to see this number tick down a notch or two based on Denver's impressive performance and based on a perceived letdown from Kansas City following the win over the Patriots.
319, 320 up next, Teddy, in a limited marketplace here with the New York Giants playing on Monday Night Football. But we are seeing threes here. That's the Giants laying in MetLife. Of course, they're hosting the Miami Dolphins, 48 being the total, talking Miami at the New York Giants, Teddy.
Yeah, look ahead here was 3.5. My powering number is 4. Though I don't buy that. That's not a good number. This is a straight powering number, but there's no way this game's going to go 4. Shouldn't say it. If the Giants win tonight and look good doing it, if Eli's chucking the football around and they end up beating Philly, maybe the game comes 4. But even then, it would probably come 3.5. And I mean, the Dolphins continue to battle. And of course, they played on this field just last week. So there's not like this is a hostile venue for them. They played the Jets and came up 1 point short in a game where I think they punted once. For that game not to go over, of all the beats this year, for the Dolphins, Jets, not to go over, they had 12 scoring drives in that game and didn't get over 45.5.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. The Dolphins were 0 for 7 in the red zone, and I think the Jets were 1 for. Well, the Jets had 1. But the bottom line is, do we see that level of effort from Miami again next week? Maybe. I don't know if the Giants will pique their interest as much as the Jets, but and of course Parker got hurt yesterday, Devontae Parker, and that's an impact injury for Miami at the receiving core. The Giants can't be laying more than a field goal. So yeah, three feels like the right number. My powering number does not.
Yeah, Teddy, and for whatever it's worth, growing up in South Florida, the Miami Dolphins' biggest rival is the New York Jets, not the New York Giants. So I could see the motivation that you're talking about coming into play, man.
Yeah, I could.
Teddy, quick question for you in that stat, man. That was 12 scoring drives, and the game stayed under 45. That was 45.5, man. Good stuff there, Teddy. Teddy, we got Buffalo at Pitt up next. Talking Pittsburgh Steelers here. Steelers laying 2 or 2.5 at home. 36.5 being the total here, Teddy.
Look headline here: Bills -1. My powering number: Buffalo -2, and the markets are grudgingly starting to give the Steelers a little bit of respect, and it's still grudging for Pittsburgh. The Steelers lead the NFL in turnover margin, and the markets, look at a team like Pittsburgh that they say there's lucky. They're lucky. You have a quarterback who should be turning over, and he hasn't. You have skill position players who should be turning the ball over, and they haven't. You have a defense that's made a bunch of plays, but they can't make that many plays forever. And yet every week, what happens? Hodges makes just enough plays. Yesterday was special teams touchdown for Steelers, and the defense dominates games. There was the Bills they've been good dogs this year. Yesterday was their first loss of the dog all year, but they haven't stepped up in class well. And the markets are still debating Pittsburgh as to whether a game against Pittsburgh is a step up in class game or not. Fascinating contest. Bills off the non-cover, Steelers off the cover. I'm not surprised that we've seen the early Pittsburgh money. That being said, I'm not convinced this one gets to 3. I don't think at 3. I'm convinced there'll be wise guy buyback on Buffalo. So I would think 2.5 is the prevailing number in this one.
Teddy, next game up 3-2-3, 3-2-4 here. Jacksonville at Oakland. Raiders laying 6.5 at home. 45.5 being the total, Teddy.
Let's get some doodly oops. But give me 1 second here, because I just saw something. Okay, it's not. Raiders open 5.5. Yeah, this is our doodly oop right here.
Doodly oop, doodly oop, doodly oop,
doodly oop, doodly oop. Emergency betting alert. We need we have sound effects. So someone out there's got sound effects for us. Give us something so we don't have to say the doodly oop game. This game's going to 7. Okay, then no one is betting the Jaguars. No one is betting the Jaguars right now. Jacksonville's got 5 straight losses by non-competitive, blown out by halftime every game. They have a lame duck head coach. They brought Mustache back yesterday. It made no difference whatsoever. Wise guys aren't going to be on the Jags. The public's not going to be on the Jags. There's no one going to be betting Jacksonville. And I have dropped the Jaguars to number 32 in my power ratings. Ooh. That's below Miami, below Cincinnati, below Washington, below the New York Giants, below the New York Jets, below the Lions. Who else do you want there? Jags are the worst right now. And the bettors see it even if the markets don't. Look at line here was only 4. My powering number in this game is 8. I'd be surprised, very surprised, if Oakland closes less than a touchdown.
Teddy, question for you, handicapping wise. I believe this is the Raiders' last home game in Oakland. Anything to the handicap there? That's
one of the many reasons why the Raiders are going to be the 7-point favorites at kickoff for this one. Yeah, this is the last game in Oakland ever, and I would expect them to play like it. Whatever, to play with a little bit of passion and purpose this week. And again, last week they had a Tennessee team that's, yesterday they had a Tennessee that was better than they are. They had teams that were better than they are each of the last 3 weeks. Here they have a team that's worse than they are and isn't playing hard. It's a Raider spot. Everyone's going to see it. If you like Oakland, bet them sooner rather than later.
Teddy, that stadium's looking almost ready. Have you driven by
Yeah,
it?
yeah, they're putting the roof on, dude. It's sweet.
It is, man. It looks good. So I can't wait for the Oakland Raiders to become the Las Vegas Raiders. But last game there in Oakland, at least for this year, we got Cleveland at Arizona, seeing the Browns -2.5 seems to be the prevailing number here. 47.5 being the total, Teddy.
And I thought about using this as the emergency betting alert too. There's a decent chance this one goes to 3. If you like Cleveland, bet them sooner rather than later. Look headline was 2.5. My powering number is Browns -1. It certainly wasn't impressive yesterday against Cleveland or against Cincinnati. That being said, earlier in the year, the Browns were losing games like that. And yesterday, it wasn't pretty, but they found a way to win it. And then, of course, after the game, there's controversy. Baker Mayfield supposedly throwing OBJ under the bus or throwing the team doctors under the bus or throwing whoever under. I mean, they're literally, the media is like creating controversy in Cleveland. It was Mayfield said something that didn't quite come out exactly right. They're like, Mayfield throws team doctors under bus. It's the headline grabbing and clickbait stuff is a little bit much with Cleveland right now. All that being said, I mean, Arizona fought the fight. Yeah, the effort was there. That is who they are. They're not going to move the football up and down the field against the better defensive teams that they face. And Cleveland, for all the struggles that they've had offensively, the defense is keeping them in games every week. So, again, if you like the Browns, 2.5 now. This is a decent chance this one gets up to 3.
Teddy, we got Atlanta at San Francisco up next. 49ers laying doubles at home, seeing 10.5 or 11, 47 being the total here, Teddy.
Look ahead line here was 11.5. My powering number is 11.5. I'm not surprised the markets came out a little bit shorter than that, just from a spot standpoint. San Fran off of that game yesterday, now facing a lesser opponent laying doubles. That was a crazy game between the 49ers and the Saints. And again, back-to-back weeks on the road where they stayed out east and stayed in Florida for the week. And then you get home and you did what you wanted to do. You just faced the Ravens and the Saints. And it's an exhale spot for San Fran. The markets see that already. Atlanta, when they don't turn the ball over, the Falcons are capable. Their problem all year has been turnovers. Yesterday they were on the right side of the turnover margin. Defense played well. Offense played well. Falcons' A game is not 11 points worse than the Niners in this spot. The problem, of course, with Atlanta is that the A game has been few and far between, and the turnovers have been pretty consistent. So, but this number, this is likely. It feels like it's going to be a sharp square divide game, maybe. I don't think you're going to see a lot of Joes taking Atlanta here, but I think you will see a lot of pros.
Teddy, 329, 3:30 afternoon kick here. LA Rams, Dallas Cowboys, seeing this number is fluctuating depending where you're shopping, seeing ones on each side, also seeing pick'ems out there, 49 being the total, talking LA Rams at the Dallas Cowboys.
If you're seeing ones on each side, you better see some pick'em somewhere. It's a really weird number because that's, and again, between -1, +1 pick'em, these aren't the key numbers. And everyone, and once in a while, a team, we saw a couple games with a 1-point win yesterday, but not in games lined at 1. So it does happen, but it to move a number from +1 to -1 or -1 to +1 is a much less of a move, and takes much less money than doing anything around key numbers. But the books are oftentimes comfortable flipping favorites. Look ahead line here stands out. Dallas -3.5.
Wow.
That was before they lost to the Bears and before the Rams came back and beat up on Seattle. My powering number here is pick 'em. All right. And I've been a little bit higher on the Rams. I've still got the Rams as a top quartile team. And I had them as a top quartile team going into last night, and the clients and I cashed a ticket with the Rams last night, in part because of that. But Dallas will most assuredly be in must-win mode again. So will LA. They're fighting for the wild card. we've already seen the big move on this in terms of like where this number is going. The big move came from the look ahead of 3.5 to this one sitting in the pick'em range now. From here, I don't see a significant move. I think, Rams -1, Cowboys -1, pick'em. I think it'll be in this range all week.
All right, guys, reminder, NFL opening line report each and every Monday throughout football season on sportsmemo.com podcast form. You can download it wherever you download your podcasts. Also on the Wager Talk YouTube channel, there is video simulcast where you can put a face with the voice if you would like. That is on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Also, sportsmemo.com podcast form. We got 331, 332 up next. Teddy, Minnesota at the LA Chargers, not to be mistaken for the San Diego Chargers. 2.5. Vikings laying on the road, 44.5 being the total, Teddy.
Well, the LA Chargers have something in common with the San Diego Chargers. San Diego Chargers used to be a good December team after they got eliminated from the playoff chase, and the LA Chargers may well be a good December team now they've been eliminated from the playoff chase. Commonality there, perhaps. Look headline here was Minnesota -3. My powering number is only Minnesota -1. The markets are at 2.5, and it feels like a 2.5. You know what I mean? I'm not seeing you're looking across the board. No, it's not going to 3. There's not anyone threatening to go to 3 right now. Is it going to go down to 1? No, I'm not really getting that sense that it's going in that direction. Charge. So in terms of like, where's this money moving on a Monday? It's not moving anywhere. It's just sitting there. When it comes to the Chargers win yesterday, and again, the Chargers, every loss they've had this year has come by a single score, by 8 points or less. They've been in every game. They haven't been nearly as bad as the markets, as their record might indicate. But they've also found ways to lose all those games, and Minnesota isn't finding ways to lose those games. And the Vikings within a nice bounce back defensive performance yesterday after they got gashed in Seattle. Though both of these teams coming off impressive wins over bad teams. Again, the markets, I don't see any sense it's getting a 3. 2.5 feels like where it's going to sit for a while.
He's Teddy Covers, and you can get the rest of his NFL and college football season. That's the bowl package with the NFL, rest of regular season and playoff packages. He obviously knows his NFL, also hitting 60% in the bowl games, 31-22 going back the last couple of years here. And you can get that for a deep discount at sportsmemo.com, under $200. TC199 at checkout for the rest of his NFL and college football full season. That's the bowl package. You'll get all of his playoff selections and the Super Bowl prop package, all from Teddy Covers, under $200. Sportsmemo.com. Use the coupon code TC199 at checkout. Monday, December 16th, the Monday Night Football game, Teddy. 333-334 Indianapolis at New Orleans, seeing 45.5 the total. 8.5 or 9. That's New Orleans laying in the Big Easy. Any quick thoughts here on next Monday night's game?
Yeah, look headline here was 8.5. My powering number on the Saints is 10. And the market's sitting in that, mostly 9.5 range right now. Check that Saints injury report. All right. They had cluster injuries at linebacker going into yesterday. Now their offensive line is banged up. I'm seeing issues for New Orleans at cornerback right now. It's Jared Cook, that's an impact injury potentially for the Saints. He's been a real weapon for Drew Brees this year. So their injury report is dicey, and that may well influence the number. But the Colts have now lost 5 out of 6. Their promising start to the season has gone south. Multiple players going on IR, Vinatieri going on IR. Deservedly so. Paris Campbell going on IR. They've got their fair share of injuries. Well, Hilton may be back this week. Marlon Mack came back yesterday, but even with the defensive score, they still lost at Tampa, and a team that was still fighting the good fight a couple of weeks ago. I really worry about Indy getting their doors blown off in this one. I don't want the Colts on Monday night next week. And the Saints A game will beat them by margin.
Great stuff, as always, Teddy. Anything else you want to throw out before we shut this down?
No, I'm really excited about ball. We're talking NFL. The truth of it is the last 24 hours, I spent a lot of time working on the Bulls. As you mentioned, we already have The very first bowl of the season. I'm excited. I never have a play in the first bowl of the season, and this year I do. So I got that up and available right now at sportsmember.com. And obviously, over the course of the next few weeks, we'll put up a whole bunch more in terms of bowl package. You already got a 5%er up.
I do. The Bahamas Bowl, Teddy. It's not far away. For whatever reason, this year's bowl schedule, I think it's getting off to an earlier start than normal. Is that right?
There's I don't know. The calendar's dicey, but yeah, from the end of conference championships, less than 2 weeks into the heart of the bowl season, and once it starts, like last year, it started, and then there was like you had a bunch of games that first Saturday, and then it was like you took a week off before the next one goes. This year, once it starts, it's like 12, 13 days of just intense bowl action. We'll get through most of them. It should be a lot of fun, those 2 weeks between the approaching Christmas until right after New Year.
Oh, it's great for sports bettors, Teddy. Any degenerate out there knows what we're talking about every night.
Well, there's something about like 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, like, oh, there's football on,
Yeah.
It's sweet. I still remember my first year in Vegas being at the Stardust Sportsbook, and I went down for something else, not even thinking about it. And I'm like, it was like literally, it's like 11 o'clock on a Tuesday, and the place was packed. Everyone's watching Boise State. I'm like, sweet, the Humanitarian Bowl. Let's sit down.
Yeah. I know a lot of people talk about there too many bowl games. I'm on the other side. I like it, man.
Oh, I wish every team played one more. Why not have a 128 team tournament, dude? I'm in.
That would be cool. I'd be down for sure, man. Well, Teddy, great stuff as always. Each and every Monday, the NFL opening line report. And guys, the special coupon for this podcast is TC199 at checkout for the rest of his NFL college football full season. That's the college football bowl package, and you'll get his Super Bowl prop package as well. So Teddy covers, best of luck, man. Always fun talking with you. And guys, we'll be back on Wednesday with college basketball. We'll also have some NBA as well, and then the NFL opening line report. So come back the NFL Every Game on the Board podcast. So guys, best of luck with your bets. We'll talk soon.